nerds, what's up? Today I'm doing my January wrap-up. Finally, I feel like we're already in the middle of February. It's February 8th. We are almost in the middle of February, but we just keep on trucking. So let's just do this. In January, I read 10 books, which is like a lot for me, and I'm kind of amazed. I'm proud of myself. I read 1 adult novel and 9 young adult novels. I'm still trying to get the hang of like more adult. I'm trying to like even it out because I really do love young adult, obviously, but I also really like adult, but I think I'm intimidated by it. Anyway, moving on. I read 6 contemporaries, 1 sci-fi, and 3 fantasies. I also did read 5 physical books and 5 audiobooks, and like perfect balance. I did read 1 2-star, 1 3-star, 3 4-stars, and a whopping 5 5-stars. I had a really good reading month. I started the year off crap. We'll talk about it. It was my first book and my worst book. And in total, I read 4,275 pages this month, which is just... I loved every minute of it, except for this first book that I'm going to talk about. Starting off from my worst books to my best books, as always. Once I get into like all of the 5 stars or the multiple 4 stars, they're not in any particular order though. First book that I want to talk about is A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. This is the book that the Goodreads TBR was, so you guys voted on a poll to read this one for January. And you know, it's been on my TBR for a long time. I know Emma from Emma Books really loves it, and I think that that's probably where I put it on my TBR for. This book follows 2 boys, one named Adam and one named Julian. Julian is a freshman in high school and Adam is a senior. Somehow their lives just have crossed paths multiple times throughout their lives. So they've known each other a very long time, and Adam, the senior, is just this fun-loving and easygoing dude, has a bunch of friends, and you know, he just has this great life, and he has a great mom, and Julian is just timid and scared of a lot of people and doesn't have very many friends at school, if any. He doesn't really have any friends. So a few different reasons that I didn't really love this book. One is that these 2 characters' lives, although eventually there is a very significant reason that their lives come together, while reading their 2 perspectives, they didn't seem like they should be in the same book. Firstly, some huge trigger warnings in this book for abuse, child abuse, horrible. And this book, the reason I think that we get Adam's happy life is to balance out the way that Robin Rowe wrote the just horrific scenes of abuse in this book. This does not stray away from anything, and I had a friend call it tragedy porn, and I think that that hits it right on the head. I don't get triggered by things easily. I'm glad that trigger warnings exist, and I do like to give them when I think they're important, but I never need them, and this book, like, I had to put down multiple times, and realistically, I shouldn't have finished it. It was so much, and like, it didn't feel like there was any real resolution. The ending I thought was super unrealistic and like just ridiculous, and it opened up more trauma for other people that didn't feel resolved in any shape or form. And so like I didn't like this. Like, I do not recommend. I'm sure that there are people who like it for a reason. Like, I'm sure that there are people who loved this book and love it, and there's something that like feels right to them, but this just, to me, it's not that it seemed unrealistic as in, oh, there's no way kids get abused, because obviously there are horrible people out there who do horrible things to small children and adults, and all sorts of horrible things happen all the time. I didn't think it needed to be written the way that it was written. I felt like there was no reason for so many scenes, and like I said, I didn't feel like the resolution was good enough. I didn't like it. I'm gonna stop talking about it. I didn't like it. So, moving on to my 3-star books, which were better. Just 1 3-star book here, which is Tithe, and for some reason I can't find my copy of Tithe or another book that I'm gonna talk about in a bit here, but Tithe is by Holly Black, and in high school I read this book a lot. I read this for the Bibliobook for a book, the challenge, a book that got you into reading. Rereading it, it didn't have the same, I was expecting too much out of it, I think. Holly Black and I don't really vibe great together. Like, her writing, I'm fascinated by the concepts that she creates and the worlds that she builds, but a lot of times the writing or the stories fall a little flat for me. So it was good. And I can definitely see its potential. It's also one of her first books. I liked it. The next book I have here was Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gournal, and this book was given to me by Amber. So thank you so much, Amber. Merry belated Christmas again. This is about a girl who has severe agoraphobia and OCD. Her mom has to leave the city for work-related reasons and ends up having to be away longer than anticipated, and so it's kind of about her week of having to deal with that while also meeting a new neighbor, and there's a romance. It was good. I listened to the audiobook as well. I kind of flipped back and forth between audio and physical of this, trying to get it read before January ended. I liked the characters. It felt a little bit like Romance Saves the Mental Health World, which just was like a little bit of rolling my eyes, but I didn't feel like it did it in a super bad way. Like, it didn't, nothing got like 100% fixed because of the romance. It was more of just like the starting point, the jumping point, the diving point for her to really want to do the work and want to be better, even if she still has a lot of work to do in order to do so. I didn't hate that part, which is why I still gave it a 4, but it's definitely part of why it's not a 5. But it was good. My next 4-star book was Empress of All Seasons by Amiko Jean. This was the Bibliobook group book, so we all read it. There's a live show up here, so you can check that out if you'd like for all of the thoughts. I really love the world building of this book. The monsters or yokai of this story were phenomenal. There was a lot of things I loved about this. There was some significant insta-love, which was not my favorite thing. And there were also some character plot points that I felt were not developed enough to make sense for where the character arc went, but that is why it got knocked down. Overall, it was still really enjoyable. I would love to see more from Amiko Jean in this story with different characters, like in this world with different characters. Make some companion novels. I'd love to see it. The world building was phenomenal. And the last 4-star book that I read was Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. I read this on audiobook. So this follows 2 characters. I can't even remember their names right now. Sam and Penny? I don't remember. Maybe Penny. This is a romance book that's set in college, which I loved reading in a college setting. I like a little bit older characters. That was really fun to listen to. But I felt like these 2 characters just, they didn't make any sense that they were falling in love. Like, the romance between them, I was just like, this is never going to work. I found it unbelievable that they fell in love. Like, I think that they were cute in their own ways, and I found Sam a little bit annoying, but like, overall they were fine. And I did laugh out loud a lot, which is really what made it go from a 3 to a 4, is like, I thought that this book was hilarious. Mary H.K. Choi definitely has a sense of humor that works for me. I just didn't find the romance believable, which is why I couldn't give it a 5. The next book I listened to on audiobook was Archenemies by Marissa Meyer, and this is my first 5-star read that I'm going to talk about. I listened to Renegades, which is the first book of this series as well, and I just want to say, I went into this book thinking this was only a duology, and little did I know that it has a huge cliffhanger at the end. So if you didn't know, this is not a duology. It has a cliffhanger, a big one. It does not end nicely. So I freaking love this world and these characters. This book follows both perspectives of, oh my god, I'm doing so bad with names today. The boy is a renegade, he's the superhero, he's part of the new government superpowers, he's like the son of one of 2 of them, and you follow the Nightmare, one of the enemies, one of the anarchists who is infiltrating the renegades' government in order to get information for the rest of the anarchists. So good! I love the superpowers of this book. It feels very X-Men-like. It is great. And then on top of that, the like super slow burn romance has me so hard from point 1. I'm so glad that it's happening. I can't wait to see what happens next. it's so good, it's so good, it's so good. The next book that I gave 5 stars was Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas. This is the last book of the Throne of Glass series, and it was just such an amazing ending. I cannot believe we went from where it started to where it ended. Just like so much happens in this book that I can't even talk about. But if you haven't yet read Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, there's a read-along announcement coming very soon your way that will have something to help you out with that. Wink wink, hint hint. So Throne of Glass starts out by following Selena Sardathian, who is an assassin in this fantastical imaginary world, and she gets taken out of the slave encampment in order to play the games to become the king's assassin, and if she doesn't win, then she will be executed because she's a slave. So it's her only chance of getting out, and it goes so much further than that, but like everything else is spoilers. So please, if you haven't read it yet, read it. Read it. The next book that I read that was a 5-star read was Summer of Salt by Katrina Leno. I did the Sassy book club for this over on Chelsea's channel last month, so it is over there, and I'll link that up there as well. So we talked about all of our feelings, and basically this book is amazing. This was a reread for me. This book follows 2 twins, Mary and Georgina, who are a part of a family that live on this very tiny island called By the Sea, and everyone kind of knows that the Fernways, their family, have magic, but it's not spoken about. It also has this very famous bird that comes every year, and so it's a very popular spot for ornithologists, people who study birds, to come and find this bird. So this story happens the summer before the twins turn 18, and things go down. There is a trigger warning for rape in this book, so please be aware of that. Oh my god, I highly recommend. If you're a fan of practical magic, read this. If you're a fan of the Wicked Deep, read this. In my opinion, Wicked Deep was decent, and this book is amazing. It did everything that I wanted the Wicked Deep to do, in my opinion. Amazing, read it, I loved it. Earlier I lied. So the list of cages was a Goodreads pick, but it was for December, and then Under Rose Tainted Skies was also a Goodreads pick that you guys picked for me, and that was for January. And then my TBR jar pick was Daughter of Deep Silence by Carrie Ryan. Picking this up, I didn't know what it was about, and it turns out that it's kind of like a revenge, actually it is exactly a revenge plot. Whoo! This book is good. This book follows a girl named Frances who is on this cruise back years ago, and this cruise everyone gets murdered on this cruise, and her friend Libby are what they think are the only 2 that escape, and in a revenge plot for what has happened to her and all this stuff, she decides to make the people who did it pay. I didn't know that I liked revenge plots so much, but holy shit, this was amazing. It was a wild ride. I loved every minute of it. It was so good. If you guys liked Pretty Little Liars, you'll like this. It's amazing. It feels great. Pretty Little Liars at first, not Pretty Little Liars season like 14. And the last book that I read that I gave 5 stars was After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a new author that is a favorite of mine. She is amazing. This book follows a married couple who have been married for 10 years, and their marriage is kind of falling apart. And so the husband decides to make this decision that the 2 of them will separate for 1 year. They won't speak to each other for a year, and then they'll come back and decide how to move forward. And they both want to get back together, but just right now it's not working. And then there's so much other like family stuff that happens. It was so good. I saw a lot of me and my fiance Matt in the couple that's in this book, which kind of freaked me out reading about it, because I'm like, are the things that are similar what makes them fall apart? Like, am I doing something wrong? It was all the like cute stuff. So yeah, I really liked it. It was just like a cute little romance about marriage is falling apart, I guess. Maybe I'm just emotional because I'm getting married. I don't know. But I really liked it, and that is the last book that I read this month. So I hope you guys enjoyed this wrap up. I can't believe I started the year off with a list of cages and hated it as much as I did, but I did read some really great books this month, so I'm glad about that. I make videos every Thursday and Saturday, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until then, you can always follow me on social media, which are always linked down below, and I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye! I wish I could